that, we have a panel. But our final speaker is Yoni Binstock. He's actually not talking about global catastrophic risk. I know it's a topic we would love to talk about forever, but he's actually going to be talking about the radical future part, and he's going to be talking about 3D printing. Here he is.
All right, can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right, awesome. First, thank you all for staying so long. Hopefully, after kind of the doom and gloom topics we've covered so far today, hopefully this last talk will kind of bring us back up and be optimistic about what technology can do, what humanity can do together. And I think 3D printing is a perfect example of a technology that will radically transform our society for the better. Before I continue on, I want to go back in time. The printing press, one of the most important inventions in human history. It distributed information more so than anything else done before. It allowed not so much the common person, but the merchant at least, access to information and ability to transfer information, to share that information. Allowed for the English Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution, and our modern day democracy to exist. None of those would have existed without this device. And through my talk, what I'm going to try to prove is that 3D printing has the same capabilities to disrupt our society as the printing press. So, what is 3D printing? I'm going to kind of go over this topic, this part of this topic really quickly, because I'm going to guess that many guys already have a basic understanding of the technology, and it's really not that important. The real important things are the consequences of what we can print and how does 3D printing impact our society. But 3D printing, for those who don't know, starts with a digital file, a 3D model made by perhaps a game designer or a 3D modeler. And they can send it to their printer or someone else's printer, and it'll be printed layer by layer. Usually on the consumer level, these are like a millimeter thick, but you can get tiny, we're now at like the nanometer level for 3D printing. And we are printing in ceramics, and plastics, and metallics, and many other different substrates. And I highly encourage you guys to look on websites like Shapeways that can illustrate all the different materials that we can print in today. So what can we print? Well, here are some of the few things. One is human organs. Many guys may have watched the famous TED Talk where they discuss 3D printing human organs. And today, people are walking around with kidneys that have been 3D printed for them using their own cells. Soon we'll be able to 3D print hearts, livers, and other vital organs that are going to radically transform the hospital and the medical care industry. Imagine never having to wait for an organ transplant. I think that's like radically transformative. And when you go to the DMV, you sign the form that asks you, if you want to be an organ donor. That question just may disappear because it may just be obsolete by this technology. And I think that's an amazing thing. About a year and a half ago, 2 years, a young man designed a gun and printed it. And it was a working gun. He wasn't able to shoot that many bullets, but it did the job. It was a gun. And needless to say, people freaked out. And because, it was a very isolated incident. It wasn't like, thousands of people, printed guns and went on a rampage. No, but what happened, though, is this individual was a big part of the Second Amendment right, and fought very hard for this, not only to be able to print the gun, but to be able to share that file with the world. And FBI got involved. The New York State Assembly was looking to pass legislation on this. And regardless if it's a gun, it could be a knife or it could be a bomb. It's going to be really interesting to see how our governments are going to regulate this industry to protect its citizens, and how citizens are going to fight back against that in proponent of rights of the information to share and to upload into the design. As well as kind of obvious, also criminal organizations, terrorist organizations are also going 3D printing, we're able to make hands, legs, feet, arms that make perfect proportional sense to that user, to that boy, girl, and with the thousands, probably tens of thousands of veterans returning from Afghanistan and Iraq, in the past have been very disappointed in prosthetic technology. If you think about from the Civil War to the late 1990s, it was either you got wooden stuff and now you got plastic stuff. There wasn't much technological advance. But now with 3D printing, you can change the prosthetic to your weight, to your height, and to your gait, and to where your limb was cut off. And so I think a lot of people in the veteran community are very excited about this. And with children or just individuals who had accidents with affordable prosthetics. 3D printing, clothes, and fashion is starting to get pretty big. You'll see that some fashion shows and walkways are now introducing 3D printing into their lineup, just as an interesting way to showcase new fashion art. The reason why I think this is important is that I think it's going to be one of the use cases that's going to allow 3D printing to get into every household. Imagine if a person watches a TV show or watches a movie or an event and sees some article of clothing, a dress that someone is wearing on that TV show, and they're able to download it and print it that night or the next morning and wear it to work or wear it to school. If we can print our clothes almost on a daily basis and hopefully recycle that, I think that's going to be one of the biggest use cases to bring 3D printing to every house. Museums are gung-ho about 3D printing and 3D scanning technology. Accidents, theft, natural disasters, many of our priceless pieces of art can be lost forever and for all future generations, and not much can be done about it. But in the past 2 years, museums like the Smithsonian and the Louvre are scanning all of their three-dimensional models, everything from like a plate to full bottles and statues. And what that allows them to do is that if anything would happen to the original version, they're able to print an exact replica. One really interesting kind of caveat that happened from this is that all these museums have all these new files, have tens of thousands of files of priceless art, and they could have held it and they could have waited until something would happen to that piece of art and then print it. But instead, a lot of them are offering those files to the public. Print your own David, and print your own priceless piece of art. And I think that's incredible. And I think that was a great move by these museums for transparency. And I think it'd be really interesting, maybe 10 years in the future, you walk through the museum, you go to the store, maybe you print a piece of art that you really liked. 3D printing houses. So this also is relatively new in this past few months. This was done by China. Able to print 10 houses in one day. That's incredible. I mean, if you look around the buildings around this neighborhood, and even newer buildings, let's say like in San Francisco or New York, building technology hasn't changed much. There's brick and there's concrete, but it still takes many months, if not years, to build a building, a house or an office building. And it's incredibly wasteful, damaging to the environment, and expensive. But imagine, my estimate is maybe 15 years, hopefully sooner, that a family wants to buy a new house. But instead of buying a house that's already been made and been lived in for 60 years, they can design a house that's meant for their family, meant for their own personal needs. And they're able to work with designers to design the house of their dreams. And they can print a house that'll be done in days instead of months and years. Imagine if a house only costs $20,000. That would radically transform the construction and real estate industry. This is brand new. This has happened in the past month. One huge hindrance in printing 3D printing products is a limiting functionality of them, because we usually only print a single material, so a plastic something, a metallic thingy, and they weren't very But just recently, we were able to 3D print a circuit board embedded into a plastic device. And so we'll be able to print, remotes, be able to print cell phones soon. We'll be able to print all these devices that are going to vastly increase the functionality of the products that we can print. So I'm incredibly excited by this opportunity. 3D printing food. This is still very, very niche. There are only certain things that we can print right now. A lot of it has to do with like pastries. But I anticipate that a lot of new foods will be invented by food scientists, and that will be able to construct novel foods that have never been, that can't be created in nature. They're not fruits or vegetables or grains. They'll be, brand new foods from the molecular level. And I think it's really exciting. Now we get, you get a cake for your birthday, and you get the glazing on the top that says "Happy Birthday." That's the amount of customization we can do for you. But imagine a whole cake, spelled out your name, or any food like a steak that was printed in the logo of the restaurant. These are really interesting opportunities. I think food scientists and artists are going to come together and come up with some really cool ideas. Digital 3D printing dentistry. The reason why I brought this up is that personally, I know many of my friends and their parents and our parents have spent a lot of money on dentistry. It is a huge business, and mostly because each new device has to be built for that user, and that user grows old and their mouth changes every few months or every few years. And so it's a huge practice, and it's very difficult to make custom devices, and that's where the cost comes in. But imagine a day, 5, 10 years in the future, when you go to the dentist, they scan your mouth, and they print that retainer, or those braces, or those extensions, or whatever dental device you need on the spot. And I can promise you that will dramatically reduce our dental costs. So now I'm going to talk about, and there are thousands of other amazing case scenarios where we can print objects that would just blow you away. But what really I wanted to talk about is the consequences of 3D printing. What does it mean for our society? The first, complexity is free. No matter if I printed just a square box or a representation of an advanced mathematical equation, the cost remains the same. Or the only thing that impacts the cost of 3D printing is one, the printer that you use, to the amount of material that you need. Those are the only things that add price to the object. I think that would transform what we think of what we can afford to print or what we can afford to make. A lot, we get devices in the mail, or we get pieces in the mail, let's say from Amazon or IKEA, and many people, especially those who may not be technologically minded as we are, find it difficult to put together devices. And there's a whole industry of helpers, helping those who are not technologically minded to help assemble devices, help assemble computers and DVD players and all these things. Imagine the day where you either at the neighborhood printer or in your house, you print the devices, you print the things that you need, ready to go, and you push on. That's all you need. We all know that it's kind of intuitive that 3D printing is radically going to transform the manufacturing industry. I don't think it'll get rid of it. I think we'll always need to print 100,000 exact replicas of something, but we will transform it. But I think what people have not thought about that much yet is the shipping industry. Our globalized commerce relies on shipping from all across the world and putting items together. If we're able to print our computers, our devices in our house, in our neighborhood, that will dramatically alter a multi-billion-dollar industry. The consumers are also now the producers. Not every person who's going to have a 3D printer will be a producer, but will have the ability to. Now, I didn't go to school for 3D modeling. I'm not an artist, but in 20, 30 hours, I was able to learn some rudimentary software, 3D modeling systems. And And I was able to make some pretty simple items. And that just gave me a huge amount of freedom and power to print and design models that I wanted to exist in the world. And I think we're going to see a huge upsurge of creativity, of artists coming from the woodwork who weren't able to make the item that they really wanted because they would have to order 10,000 of them from China. But they're able to make one. And if that one didn't work and they want to change something, they can make another one with a slight alteration. And the skills needed for that are so limited. As an environmentalist, I love 3D printing. I think environmentalists should get behind 3D printing as a future of manufacturing, as a green way to build our items. Because unlike subtractive manufacturing, where you remove everything that you don't need and you're left with your device or you're left with your product, with 3D printing, you only get out what you put in, and vice versa. So there should be zero waste. And combine that with dramatically altering the shipping industry, 3D printing I believe can be something that environmentalists can get behind as a way to the clean manufacturing future. Many of us lived through the Napster era and that battle between the music industry and those who wanted to download and share and upload music. It was not fun for anybody involved. The music industry, their profits hurt. Individuals were fined and went to prison. And the only people that really got anything out of it were lawyers, right? They made a bunch of money. And so what I hope that's going to happen, fingers crossed, is that we learn some of those lessons. We take that and we realize that nobody really was a winner, besides lawyers and iTunes, in that battle. And that if we can find a way where corporations who are going to want to protect the intellectual property of their products, and those of consumers who want to scan them, upload them, edit them, remix them, share them, and others to print them, there's always going to be that natural battle. But hopefully we'll find ways where we're not going to have as much of a fight and much of a battle as we did with the music industry. I started this talk talking about the printer, the first printer, right? The Gutenberg print press. As I said, dramatically altered our society for the better. Some technologies are neutral. They can be used for good or for evil. But some technologies, like the printing press and like 3D printers, I believe are inherently good. It distributes power, allows for users, us, people, citizens, not to rely on experts, not to rely on corporations, but just to come up with their own ideas of what they want to see in the physical world. The internet has, of course, been one of the most transformative inventions in recent human history. It allowed us not only to share content, but to create content. And that's very powerful. And we've seen how blogging and Twitter and Facebook have dramatically altered the geopolitical balance of power. But we still live in the physical world. And the chairs that we sit in, the devices that we use, the houses we live in, the food that we eat, all this is still matter. And we are dramatically going to change how we build things, how we make things on a molecular level. In the next 20 years, 30 years, we heard some projections about nanotechnology. We'll be able to make devices on a nanotechnology level. And that means making anything. That means being able to make an atomic bomb. That means being able to make a cell phone. That means being able to print almost any device of your imagination. And so, although there will be cases of either corporations, governments, terrorist organizations using 3D printing for nefarious purposes, I think by far it will be a technology for the people. And I think as transhumanists, people who want to better ourselves, people who want to better the world, that this is a technology that we should get behind and fully support. Thank you very much.
Okay, question here.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you said no
are like usually like smaller than like this. And maybe if you want to like print a pair of skis, maybe you go to like the neighborhood printer, and they'll be able to print it in one go.
I'm thinking of bicycle.
A bicycle?
Many devices require moving. Moving parts require something.
You'd be surprised. Sometimes we're able to print gears, and as soon as they bring it out, and they kind of clear it out, and you just kind of brush away and nick some things off. But then like the gears are moving. Yeah.
On that point, the grandfather clock that was manufactured at MIT's Media Lab earlier last year, the whole shebang came out of the printer instead.
Yeah.
They printed the gears, the casements, the chain, pins, the whole nine yards. I was there when they were doing most pictures of it before this fully stood up.
It was incredible.
So you had a question over there.
Yeah.
This might sound like a dumb question,
No.
but I don't know, I mean, there must be material, I mean, I still think of printing paper.
Yeah.
But what are the limitations of materials that can be made into?
Until maybe 5 years ago, maybe until 3 years ago, it was only plastics. And different types of plastics and different thickness and durability, it was just plastics. With new printers, they use like a laser technology rather than like what you kind of see on consumer level. But now we're able to print metallics and ceramics and a whole bunch of really cool new materials. Check out a website called Shapeways, and it's a website where many people upload their designs and they print it for you and then ship it to your customers. They list all the materials that they use. Pretty incredible, like gold, silver.
How about textiles?
I'm sorry, what?
Textiles?
Yeah, we're pretty close, yeah. Textiles too.
But like plastic, we used to use plastic.
Like cloth. Yeah.
I want to ask about the textiles.
Okay.
What, the thing where they're putting clothing on?
Yeah.
So they have to sew or stitch them or what together somehow.
No.
It's doing all in one piece.
Yep.
Huh. And is it cloth like?
Yep.
And that feels like cloth?
It feels like cloth. It's probably, it's definitely not like wool cloth, like from a sheep. But it feels like cloth, or it feels like a similar material.
I actually have a question.
Oh, yeah.
What nations do you think are going to lead in manufacturing?
I think America has an opportunity to, but I think China is leading the way right now. It's good as we transform as a manufacturing industry, and that means like tens of millions of people employed. But as like America's trying to bring back jobs to the United States, that could be a great potential. But it's going to like shrink jobs. People are going to lose their jobs. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, but like I think there'll be more designers, absolutely. But I think in the grander kind of balance of jobs, I think there'll be more jobs lost than jobs gained.
How about step?
Okay.
Okay, so this is a technology that makes more people capable of doing more things, right?
Yeah.
And I definitely buy that most people will use this for good purposes, right?
Yeah.
Let's suppose that it is 1 in a million people that is trying to use this for harmful purposes.
Yeah.
But what are the limits on how harmful those purposes could be? And is 1 in a million people now able to, in the extreme case, right? And you tell me if this is plausible now or sometime in the future of this technology. Could that 1 in a million people use this to kill everyone else through some invention of theirs, such that we would have all been better off without this technology being there in the first place? Or likewise, are there things that can be done to make sure that the users get only the good stuff and not things of that sort?
So I don't think is a wrong word, of any existential risk with 3D printing. Saying that though, there are a risk. I mentioned the 3D printing gun. Recently someone designed a 3D printing machine gun. So these technologies of violence are getting better. But we have hackers, like not the good ones, but like the bad ones. And we have people who use the web for nefarious reasons. But overall, we said the web, the internet, is a great tool that has helped our society. So there it's going to be actually really, really difficult to stop them. But maybe printers will have almost embedded parameters, just disabling it to not print a gun, but people will be able to get around that. So I don't know if there's going to be a good way to stop it.
To briefly follow up on that, from what you're describing, it sounds reasonable to me. If you can't build stuff that can kill everyone real easily, unless
Yeah.
you take a gun and shoot
Yeah.
everyone, which is kind of hard, then this is probably a big net benefit to the total sum of risk because it helps out on environmental problems and things of that sort.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, today, what's the most different materials that you can load into a 3D printer at one time? Like, you know, it's like I want to make something, how many materials can it be made out of?
Probably two. In the order, my mention of like embedded circuitry, that's probably the extent of it. I'd say, I mean, in 3-4 years, 3?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay, great. So not 3. But especially, you know, with nanotechnology, it'll just be one material, and it'll be able to kind of print. That one material will be like nanobots, and when we print it, it'll be whatever you want. Yeah. Yeah.
So how does the quality compare to actual professionally machined products? So we were talking about before the gunpowder clock. So how much of this would you sell it for?
There is a huge kind of difference between like kind of consumer level and professional level 3D printers. So I think the cheapest 3D printer is now around $150, $200. Super cheap. And you can print like probably 10,000 different objects with it. And they did a research study where showing if a person buys one of these printers, they will actually print enough objects to cover the cost of that throughout 1 year. But still, these really cheap printers, you'll be able to see the different levels of where the printer has printed. But the more expensive ones, the ones like that are $20,000 using lasers and ceramics, you won't be able to tell the difference at all. It will look like a piece of professional work.
You want to talk about SpaceX?
With 3D printing? Oh yeah, so SpaceX and NASA are both huge about 3D printing because, as you know, every pound or every ounce that goes into space costs tens of thousands of dollars. And what you need to do is you need to ship up replacement parts. You need to ship up all these parts that you may not need, but you definitely want to need them. And so if we can if we can send a 3D printer, hopefully a very light one, and only print the equipment that we need on the spot, that saves SpaceX, NASA, and any other rocket industry billions of dollars. So and I believe in the next shuttle or next launch, they are including a 3D printer and seeing how zero G affects